The film starts with a girl named Lee in her room, looking out of the window at a strange car parked in front of the house. Lee leaves the house and heads towards the car, but before she reaches it, she hears someone calling her. She then sees a tall, terrifying figure. 20 years later, Lee has grown up and become a detective at the police station. The chief of police holds a meeting about a serial killer who has committed multiple crimes but hasn't been caught yet. He asks the detectives to divide themselves into teams, with each team investigating a specific area of the city to control the situation and catch the killer as soon as possible. Lee and her colleague go to the area they are assigned to investigate. Her colleague starts checking the nearby houses while Lee stands in front of a particular house. When her colleague tells her that he searched the first house and found nothing, Lee tells him that the criminal is alone in the house and even gives him the house number where the criminal is. Her colleague is surprised and asks how she knew the criminal's location. She says it's just a feeling and advises him to call for backup because the criminal is armed. However, her colleague doesn't believe her and refuses to call for backup. He approaches the house alone, but before he can enter, he is shot in the head and dies. Lee draws her gun, enters the house, and searches for the killer until she finds him sitting alone on a bed. He raises his hands and surrenders. Later, Lee is in her boss Carter's office, who is puzzled by how she knew the criminal was in that particular house. He jokingly calls her a psychic, but then changes the subject, informing her of a new case. A whole family has been murdered, and the father killed his entire family before taking his own life. Carter explains that they found a coded message at the crime scene, and the strange thing is that the handwriting doesn't match any of the family members. He shows her the photos and tells her that over the past 30 years, many similar family murders have occurred, with the father always being the one to kill his family. In each crime scene, there were coded messages signed by someone called the Tall Man. Lee smiles and asks what all these families had in common. Carter tells her that each family had a young daughter, and the strange thing is that this family was killed on the 14th of the month, which was the daughter's birthday. He gives Lee the case file and asks her to work on it. Lee takes the file and spends the entire day studying it, reviewing all the information, until she falls asleep in the office. Carter wakes her up and takes her to a bar to discuss work. At the bar, Lee refuses to drink alcohol and starts explaining her findings to Carter. She suspects that someone is helping the fathers kill their families, but the strange thing is that there is no evidence that anyone else entered the houses. Lee is convinced that the person who wrote the messages is the one responsible for the murders, but she still feels something is missing. After finishing their conversation, Lee drives Carter home because he is drunk. When they arrive, Carter invites Lee inside to introduce her to his wife and daughter. Lee agrees and meets his wife Anna and daughter Ruby. Ruby takes Lee to her room, and they talk, with Ruby taking a liking to Lee and even inviting her to her birthday party. After that, Lee returns home and calls her mother, who lives far away. We learn that Lee hasn't seen her mother in a long time. While talking, Lee hears a noise outside the house, so she ends the call quickly and looks out of the window, spotting a mysterious figure standing in the nearby forest. She grabs her gun and goes outside to search for the person, but when she enters the house again, the person is gone. Lee then finds an envelope on the table with the words, "Do not open before the 14th of the month," written on it. Lee opens the envelope and finds a birthday card with coded writing. Lee works to decipher the message and eventually succeeds, discovering that it's a message from the killer. The message warns her that if she informs the police about her suspicions, he will kill her mother and completely ruin her life. Lee is shocked and can't believe what's happening. A short time later, Lee receives a call from Carter, who urgently requests her presence. When she arrives, Carter tells her about a murder that took place a month ago in that same house. He gives her a coded message, saying it's from the same killer because the father killed his entire family and then took his own life. Carter explains that they learned about the crime late because the family was planning to travel, so the neighbors thought they were already gone. The family had a little girl, and Lee is shocked to learn that the crime occurred on the 14th of the month, the girl's birthday. Lee deciphers the message, which reads, "Nice try, but you failed." Carter is surprised and asks how she managed to crack the code. Lee tells him that she's been trying for a long time and finally figured it out. Later, Lee calls her mother and tells her that she won't be able to speak with her for a while because she's working on a big case that will take up all her time. We learn that Lee's birthday is next week, and her mother insists that she visit on that day. Afterward, Lee goes to the library and continues researching old murder cases, trying to connect the dots and understand what's happening. She manages to decode the messages that the killer leaves her after every crime he commits. The next day, Leah visits Carter in his office and gives him the paper that contains the deciphered messages from the killer, which include a triangle-shaped symbol. She informs him that the killer uses a specific method for the murders and that he commits his crimes on the 14th of the month, which is the same month as the child's birthday in the family he targets. Leah tells Carter that she discovered something important, a crime that happened 20 years ago to a family living on a farm near the city. The only survivor was a girl named Carrie because she was at school when her father killed her mother and the priest who was visiting their home. The crime also occurred on the 14th of the month, which was Carrie's birthday. Leah explains that Carrie suffered severe psychological trauma and has been in a psychiatric hospital ever since. Carter decides they should first visit the family's house before going to see Carrie in the hospital. When they arrive at the farm, they find no one there. They enter the house and search for anything that could help them with the case until Carter notices something under the house's floor. He breaks the floor and finds a box with a paper on it, marked with the same triangle symbol used by the killer. When Carter opens the box, he finds a doll, which suddenly opens its eyes. They quickly take the doll to the forensic doctor for examination. The doctor tells them that the person who made the doll was a true artist because the doll's features are very close to human ones. The strange part is that the doctor found a ball inside the doll's head, which they realize is empty. When they touch it, they hear a strange sound. The doctor also mentions that he felt like the doll was calling him when they brought it in, which surprises Carter and Leah, though they dismiss it and decide to go visit Carrie in the psychiatric hospital. Meanwhile, in another part of the city, a creepy-looking man appears in a market and stands in front of the market owner's daughter, making strange, unintelligible gestures. The girl becomes frightened and calls for her father, prompting the man to leave. As he drives away, he mimics the girl's scream as she calls out for her father. The next day, Carter and Leah are sitting with the doctor who treats Carrie. He tells them that Carrie's condition has been the same since she was admitted 20 years ago, but something strange happened the day before. Carrie suddenly changed after being visited by someone she knew. Carter asks the doctor about this person and requests a description, but the doctor says he didn't see the visitor because he wasn't there at the time. When Carter and Leah check the visitor records to find out the visitor's name, they are shocked to find Leah's name listed. Leah then speaks with Carrie and asks her what she remembers from the day of the crime. Carrie says her father was a good, religious man, and when she returned from school on the day of the incident, she discovered that her father had killed all the farm animals, the visiting priest, and her mother before taking his own life. Leah then asks about the person who visited Carrie the day before, and Carrie says she has known him for a long time and would do anything he asks, no matter what it is. Leah also asks Carrie about the doll, which has a strong resemblance to her, but Carrie denies remembering it, gets agitated, and leaves the room. When Leah and Carter return to the police station, they discuss the killer, and Carter is puzzled by the fact that the killer committed the crime 20 years ago and has now reappeared, visiting the only surviving girl from the family. He is also perplexed by the doctor's claim that the girl's condition improved after the visit and that Leah's name appeared in the visitor log. Leah explains that the doll they found is cursed and that the curse is connected to Carrie because the doll resembles her. Leah believes the doll is responsible for the murders, but Carter is unconvinced and changes the subject, asking Leah if she's hiding something from him. He asks how the killer knew her name and wrote it in the visitor log, but Leah remains silent. Carter then says he reviewed Leah's file and asked her when she last spoke to her mother. Leah is taken aback and asks what her mother has to do with any of this. Carter explains that Leah's mother called the police 20 years ago, specifically on January 13th, the day before Leah's 9th birthday, meaning Leah's birthday is on the 14th. Leah is shocked by this revelation, but Carter continues, telling her that her mother reported someone breaking into their house and described the intruder as tall, thin, with a pale face. Leah is bewildered by his words but insists that she doesn't remember any of it. Carter suggests that she go ask her mother directly, so Leah visits her mother and asks if she remembers Leah's 9th birthday. Leah wants to know what happened that day, why her mother called the police, and who broke into their house. Her mother insists that nothing happened and that no one broke into their house, adding that such things are not suitable for a child to know. Leah presses on, telling her mother that she's no longer a child, but her mother replies that Leah has grown up because he allowed it. Leah is confused by this and asks who allowed it, to which her mother tells her to go to her room to find out. Leah hurries to her room and starts searching through her old belongings until she is shocked to find a picture of the long-legged killer. We flash back to the beginning of the film, revealing that Leah had taken a picture of the tall man with her camera. Her mother had asked who he was and what he wanted with her daughter, but he didn't respond, instead singing strange, unintelligible words and making bizarre gestures. At this point, Leah goes to Carter and shows him the picture of the tall man, explaining everything that happened. This is the killer they were looking for. Carter asks Leah if she remembers anything about this man, and she says she doesn't remember anything at all. Afterward, the criminal is arrested, and during the interrogation, he says his name is Coble. He keeps asking about Leah and says he wants to see her. When asked how he knows her, he says she is a friend of a friend. Then, he starts singing a birthday song for Leah. Carter's assistant is very confused and tells Carter and Leah that there's no evidence proving Coble is the killer. Leah responds by saying that Coble has an accomplice in his crimes and reveals that today is the 13th of the month, while her birthday is on the 14th. She declares that she won't wait for Coble and his accomplice to commit another crime, so she goes to talk to him. As soon as Coble sees Leah, he is happy. Leah asks him who works with him and helps him commit his crimes. It's her mother. Then, Coble starts banging his head on the table in front of him until he dies. After that, Carter gets into an argument with Leah and tells her that the case is closed because Coble is dead. Carter also learns that Carrie committed suicide in the asylum, even though it was the 13th and not the 14th. Leah suspects that Coble ordered Carrie to do this when he visited her, but Carter refuses to believe her and leaves. Carter's assistant sympathizes with Leah and feels she might be right, so she goes with Leah to her mother's house to learn more about the situation. When they arrive, she tells Leah she will wait in the car while Leah talks to her mother. Leah enters the house but doesn't find her mother. Suddenly, she hears gunshots outside the house. She rushes to the window and sees her mother killing Carter's assistant. Leah, shocked, leaves the house and searches for her mother until she sees her standing in front of a little girl, pointing a gun at her. As Leah gets closer, she realizes that the girl is actually a doll that looks just like Leah when she was a child. Leah's mother then tells her that she will free her from this and shoots the doll in the head. At the same moment, Leah experiences intense pain and collapses on the ground. She starts to remember everything that happened in the past, and we flash back to the day Coble visited Leah. At that time, Leah's mother entered the house and called the police, but Coble followed her inside, grabbed her, and was about to kill her. He told her he had come to give Leah her birthday present. We learn that Coble creates beautiful dolls that look just like the girls. It's revealed that Coble enchants the dolls with magic, focusing on the eyes, and Leah's mother becomes terrified of him. She agrees to do whatever he asks in exchange for him staying away from her daughter. Coble agrees and makes a deal with Leah's mother. We then see Leah's mother visiting families in the month of their daughters' birthdays, telling them they have won a special doll as a gift. When the daughters see the doll, they are thrilled. However, the magic inside the doll takes control of the fathers, forcing them to kill their entire families before taking their own lives. In the present day, Leah wakes up in her bed at her mother's house. She rushes to inform Carter about what happened. There, she learns that today is her daughter Ruby's birthday, which is the 14th of the month. Leah enters the room and sees Ruby sitting next to the doll. Leah's mother is also in the house. Leah tells Carter that the person sitting there is her mother and that she is Coble's accomplice, who has been killing families. However, Carter, under the influence of the magic, yells at Leah, telling her to be quiet. He then takes his wife to the kitchen to cut the cake. At that moment, Leah asks her mother why she's doing this. Her mother explains that if she doesn't, they will live in hell, and she does this to protect and preserve Leah's life. Suddenly, Carter emerges, holding a knife, and it's revealed that he has killed his wife in the kitchen. Leah shoots him repeatedly until he dies. Her mother, enraged by what Leah has done, pulls out a knife and tries to kill her, but Leah shoots her in the head, killing her. After that, Leah takes Ruby from beside the doll and points her gun at the doll to shoot it in the head and free Ruby from its control. However, she discovers that she is out of bullets. Leah stands defiantly in front of the doll, staring it down. Meanwhile, in the interrogation room, it is revealed that Coble is still alive and laughing. The movie ends. If you finished the video, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe for more movie summaries. Thanks for listening, my loves. See you in another video.